Hi everyone, I'm Alison, Community Manager at Thunder Lotus, and welcome to another 33 Immortals devlog. So 2026 is already off to a great start with a brand new roadmap that we announced last month, Paradiso coming this spring, our arrival to Steam this summer, and the Gluttony update that's available now. And that's what I'm here to talk about. This update brings a new weapon, a new meta progression, dynamic difficulty, private sessions, and many more other things. So let's get into it. Let's start with the star of this update, the Hooks of Gluttony. It's a new melee tank weapon designed to explore a more technical, aggressive, but also mobile take on the tank playstyle. If you're used to the Sword of Justice, the Hooks of Gluttony share some common ground but push you further. They require more mastery, better timing, and stronger positioning. The core of the weapon revolves around something called Gluttonous State. To trigger it, you'll need to use your parry ability. A successful parry immediately puts you into Gluttonous State, which increases your damage for a short time. This creates a playstyle where you're rewarded for staying close to enemies, keeping pressure on them, and remaining in the middle of the fight. At the same time, the Hooks of Gluttony will require you to stay mobile. And to make sure the hooks feel different from the Sword of Justice, we leaned into a fantasy we love, grappling. When using the hook's heavy attack, it triggers a grappling mechanic that lets you pull yourself directly into combat, and requires you to reposition quickly, making you a mobile tank. So you're not just absorbing damage here, you're actively throwing yourself into danger. And finally, there's the hook's co-op power, Spiny Shield. It activates a shield with 3 damaging objects rotating around you, and while that shield is active, it prevents you from taking damage up to 3 times, regardless of what kind of damage it is. So this is a perfect weapon for those who want a more technical tank experience. You got more movement, more decision-making, and more risk. I hope you'll enjoy it. Now let's talk about one of the biggest changes in this update, the meta progression overhaul. We realized that early on, it was difficult for new players to understand what could be unlocked and how. A lot of meaningful rewards, like weapon upgrades, were locked behind feat levels, and progression could start to feel like a chore, especially if you were forced to play weapons that don't fit your playstyle, or that you just don't like. In the Gluttony update, we're fixing that. If you're a new player, you will begin the game with 3 major feats: Rebel Soul, Inferno, and your major feat of the weapon you chose for your first run. The more you use the weapon, the more you unlock rewards that are tied to the weapon. Your first unlock will be the weapon's co-op power, then its first weapon upgrade. So rather than forcing new players to go through feats they don't care about to progress, they'll now be able to access things related to their favorite weapon by simply using it more. Other important game features such as ordeals, access to relics, and the quest board now unlock gradually through major feats, so new player can discover mechanics step by step instead of being overwhelmed by interacting with everything when they start the game. We also added new feats and removed the infamous daily quest feats because, let's be honest, it wasn't fun and no one really liked them. The other big change in the meta progression is the constellation system that both new and veteran players will have to use to progress. By completing major feats, you'll unlock Bright Stars, which you will use to self-allocate stats and shape your Solis progression. And completing a full constellation will unlock the Crown, the Cloak, and the Familiar of Immortality. So what does it mean for you depending on what you've unlocked so far? Well, if you're a new player, you will get access to the new meta progression from the start. If you've already made progress in the game, everything that has already been unlocked will remain unlocked. For example, weapon upgrades that have already been purchased will remain unlocked. You will keep your access to ordeals and everything that you had before the update. The main thing that will change is the redistribution of your stats. When you launch the game, you'll see that your stats have been reset. Now don't panic, they're not lost. Interact with Beatrice and she'll tell you about the constellation system. You will get a number of bright stars depending on how many feats you had completed before the update, and you will be able to reallocate your stats yourself using the bright stars. You will see a slight difference between the stats you had before and the stats you just reallocated. It's temporary and it will balance itself out as you continue progressing through the game. For example, some of your base stats will be lower while in Darkwood, but as you complete certain feats, interacting with Dust Shrines in the Beyond will grant you more stats to make up for it. So that's it for the new meta progression system, and the goal is simple. We want better rewards, we want a clearer progression, and we also want a smoother learning curve. Now, moving on to dynamic difficulty, the new system that is going to make the game scale depending on how many players are in a session. So this is something that many of you asked for and that we really wanted to implement, but without losing the core of 33 Immortals, which is co-op first, right? So first, let's go over what does not change with dynamic difficulty. The behavior of enemies will not change, the type of enemies that you will face in the Beyond does not change, and the amount of enemies during Ascension fights does not change, regardless of how many players are in a session. So, what does change? The first major thing is how the session locks. A session will now lock automatically after 3 minutes, right after the first Wrath of God. The number of players present at the moment sets how many torture chambers open, and how difficult the boss will be. And this remains fixed for the entire session. So if your session locks at 15 players, boss difficulty will still be scaled for 15 players, even if you lost some rebel souls along the way. This system keeps runs roughly the same length, prevents low player runs from lasting too long, and also ensures the epic boss fights remain meaningful. The full breakdown of how many chambers are open depending on how many players are in the run at lock is available on our dev diary. I put a link in the description for you to check. We know that it's a major change, especially for the way the session locks, because there is no more notion of rushing chambers now. So we'll be monitoring the impact of dynamic difficulty on our player base, and we'll also be on the lookout for player feedback. We really want to nail this experience for everyone, so please let us know what you think. Now, let's talk about private sessions for players who want a greater challenge. Private sessions allow you to play with up to 32 invited players and is activated by interacting with a campfire in Darkwoods. These sessions are designed for coordinated groups, friends playing together, and streamers teaming up with their communities. Now be warned that there is no dynamic difficulty in private sessions. No matter how many players you invite, resources are more scarce, monsters are deadlier, and bosses will give you a hard time. Private sessions are really made to feel like an MMO raid experience, where communication and cooperation are key to success. So good luck and happy raiding! We added many other things in the Gluttony update. You now have access to mastery trainings, one focused on relics, builds and resource management, and one focused on boss mechanics and unavoidable damage. We've also included several community-requested features, like improved UI feedback for certain relics, and we've added many new static and animated emotes. The full list of what's in the Gluttony update is in the patch notes and the latest dev diary, and both are linked in the description of this video. So that's it for the Gluttony update. We put a lot of love into it and we'll hope you like it. Please share your feedback with us, and as for me, I'll see you in the Darkwoods. Bye, Immortals!